U.S. Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin announced the launch of what he described as the greatest day of deregulation in American history. According to the announcement, the EPA will undertake 31 deregulatory actions that will have a number of effects, including rolling back trillions in regulatory cost and hidden taxes on U.S. families. Zeldin also said they would unleash American energy while driving a dagger straight into the heart of the climate change religion. To that I say amen. So just how significant are these actions? Well, joining me now to discuss this, U.S. Senator Pete Ricketts of Nebraska, who serves on 4 Senate committees, including the Committee on Environment and Public Works, as well as the Budget Committee. Senator Ricketts, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me on, Tony. I appreciate it.
Now, I don't think we'll have time to go over all 31 deregulatory actions that were announced, but give us some of the highlights.
Well, the first highlight is that common sense is finally back at the EPA. This is fantastic. And I heard you mention about unleashing American energy, which, of course, is one of President Trump's campaign promises. And this is what this looks like. Some of the big things that they're going to be hitting upon are some of the things we've been fighting for a long time. For example, waters of the U.S. I remember starting that fight back in the Obama administration back in 2015. And both Obama and Biden tried to stretch the rule to expand EPA's authority to things like roadside ditches or farm ponds, things that were clearly not navigable waters. The Clean Water Act of 1972 says navigable waters 50 times, and they totally tried to get rid of that meaning. And we're going to go back to common sense. But we're also going to be rolling back the Clean Power Plan, which was going to do things such as shut down our very clean burning coal plant in Nebraska. They're going to get rid of the greenhouse gas reporting rule, which would be an attack on our natural gas facilities, which, again, is a big source of power for Nebraska and many states. And frankly, natural gas is one of the reasons why we are the only industrialized country that's actually reducing our greenhouse gases. Unlike other countries who say they're going to, we're actually delivering on that promise by using clean burning natural gas. Also rolling back the EV mandate. This is one that I've been fighting because EVs don't make sense in big rural states with cold weather. The adoption rate in Nebraska is 2%. And under the Biden administration, they wanted 2/3 of all new vehicles being sold in 2032 to be EVs. That just wasn't going to happen. They're going to run into math and physics there with that one. But again, common sense is coming back on that. So and then the good neighbor rule, which, again, would just allow the EPA to be able to expand their authority to states with clean air, really without any sort of reason or authority, but just an expansion of power. So we're really seeing the rollback of a lot of major programs that were going to be trouble for states like Nebraska, where we have a very clean environment. You can go look at the rankings. Everybody says we got clean air, we got clean water. Nobody cares more about having that than we do in Nebraska. But we saw with both Obama and the recent Biden administration was a huge expansion of the EPA's authority. And now we're seeing common sense.
The bottom line effect of these regulatory actions when they're put in place, like we saw with Biden and Obama, is, number one, it costs the consumers. You're paying more for energy. You're paying more for certain products. We got to change all of our light bulbs. We got to pay for things that cost us more. But is this not also a part of driving up the federal deficit and the debt?
Yeah, because you're Tony right on both points. So first of all, the Biden administration rolled out 5,000 regulations, and we just named a few of them. And the average cost of that to the American family was $3,300 a year. And not just once, it's $3,300 every year until those regulations are rolled back, such as what we're seeing right now with the EPA. So this is going to be a good start in rolling those regulations back and saving American households money. But when you put this layer of regulation on, you put a wet blanket on innovation, on small businesses, and small businesses are who create most of our jobs in this country. And so it's anti-growth. It means you are really being restrictive, if you want to think about it from the standpoint of how much money is out there, how much money is available to households to be able to go out and spend, how much is available to businesses to be able to invest. So this will be part of how the Trump administration unleashes the economy again. I mean, we saw some of the best economy we've ever seen under the first Trump administration. You go look at the job participation rate by Americans, you look at the poverty rates among African Americans, the unemployment rate was some of the lowest for African Americans rates ever. Hispanic Americans the same, Asian Americans the same. We saw great unleashing of our economic power here. And it's because, in part, the Trump administration took off a bunch of regulations that were preventing our innovators, our small businesses, and our families from being able to invest or spend the money that they otherwise would have, except that then they had to spend the money on regulations under Biden.
And so we just got about a minute and a half left, but one of these initiatives, they put regulations on appliances. Then they allocated $2 billion to buy green energy appliances for certain Americans. And it was a grant that was given to Stacey Abrams. This is one of the things that President Trump kind of mentioned in his speech to the joint session. This is one of those grants that Lee Zeldin has zeroed out, or at least he's trying to get it back. I mean, this is an example of creating a problem so you can try to solve a problem.
Solve the money, as you point out, by spending more money that we don't have, right? I mean, one of the big things that the Trump administration is trying to do, the DOGE effort is a big part of this, is go back in and strip out the wasteful spending. And the points you're talking about, these grants, especially at the EPA, have been going out to these radical left-wing organizations. In many cases, because money's fungible, we're giving these grants out to these organizations who are anti-America, they're anti-Israel. We're essentially paying them to come and protest us in Washington, D.C., which is clearly not the intent that most taxpayers think when they actually pay their taxes. It's not how most people want to see their taxpayer dollars being wasted. And actually, Shelley Capito and I did a big press conference on this back a few months ago to highlight this. And what I am really glad to see is that Lee Zeldin has recognized this and is trying to claw those dollars back.
Yes, we applaud him. And Senator, thanks for joining us today. Always great to see you.